Today has been wonderful. Lots of answers and lots more questions. And I think the thing that keeps coming up in my mind that I want to ask about is clarity. Because I had a pretty big life change earlier this year, and I moved to a new city, and definitely I'm in touch with a lot of my desires. However, I felt kind of sluggish on some things.
Before you go too far, and we want to hear what you have to say, but we just want to stick in here that clarity is our favorite form of alignment, because you might not be able to change your bank account all of a sudden, but you can go from confusion to clarity in moments. And so if clarity is something that you're reaching for, which is really pretty easily accessible, it will carry you to everything else that you want. It will. Because think about what clarity is. Clarity is having practiced a vibration that is in sync with who you really are, so that you have infinite intelligence at your fingertips. That's clarity.
Yeah. And I've experienced that before, sometimes
Yes.
for years even.
Well, it's a sweet spot that we talk about, and it usually doesn't last for years. It usually lasts for a moment, and then another moment, and then another moment, and then another moment, and then another moment. In other words, we think our friend actually was experiencing great clarity when she went to the gate attendant and asked if they could put her on a flight to New York. That was clarity, because the idea just seemed logical. She had a clear thought about that. And that clarity led her to an answer that opened up something entirely different than her original question. But she had clarity in that question. You see what we're getting at? The feeling of, oh, I think I'll do this now. Oh, I think I'll do this. So if you could give up on the idea that I will move from over here where what I want isn't, all the way over to a full manifestation of it, that I'll get some clarity that'll take me instantly and directly to it. If you can not let that be your quest, but just clarity. What's the best thing I could do right now? What's the best question I could ask right now? Who's the best person I could ask that question of? What's the best use of my time right now? What now? What now? What now? Because your inner being sure knows your path of least resistance. Think about it. If you're in a constant state of clarity, aren't you living happily ever after? We don't know of anything that anybody wants, whether it's a pile of money, a material object, a relationship, a circumstance, or an event. There isn't anything that anybody wants that isn't because they believe if they had it, they would feel better. And doesn't clarity feel great? So if you're in a moment of clarity, then all your dreams have come true in that moment of clarity. Really, think about it. And if you can sustain it, then the manifestations will support that. And groveling around and moving around in confusion, the manifestations support that too, don't they?
Yeah.
So continue.
That's actually very helpful. I think I've definitely been doing a lot more like what you were just describing this year, where I've allowed myself to try certain things or go certain places.
But you know, you still feel like someone who is hard after reaching your goals. And what we've been talking about here today is understanding that you put your goals in your vortex, most of them a long time ago. And those goals have gestated into something that you can't even recognize, because they've integrated so many of themselves to each other, and so many other components have been added to them, that there's something way bigger in your vortex than what you would call your goals. So your goal setting has already been accomplished, and your goals have already been satisfied and reached by the larger part of you. So now you have something far different than goal setting to do. You've got chilling out to do. You've got getting yourself into a place of observant expectation of the path that leads you joyously to the attainment of these never-ending goals. You know what the saddest thing in the whole world would be? If you could have a goal and reach it and be done. That'd be the end of you. Could never be. We're being silly. But the saddest thing is to have a goal, big goal, big, important goal, and reach it. How sad that would be. But you can't ever do that, because on your way to reaching that goal, you put a whole bunch more in the vortex. So your inner being's always saying, more joy this way, more joy this way, more clarity this way, more interest this way, more of you this way, more fun this way, more cooperative components this way, more, because you are an eternal being. And you're in this body out here on this leading edge, setting up more eternity for all of us. This just isn't about the "we love you so much" paltry little puny goals that you all are setting for yourselves. This is about the continuation of the universe at large. This is about you exploring out here on the leading edge and coming to new conclusions for you, and all of us getting in on the manifestations of all of that. Esther said the other day, Abraham, you can talk all you want about alignment, blah, 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 and about energy, blah, 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 and about the sweet spot. And I get all of that because I've had a lot of happy moments, she said, making lists of positive aspects and moving my energy. I like the bliss of all of that. But Abraham, I can't help it. I love the manifestation so much more. I just love manifestations. And we said, you know why? Because when something is realized in that full manifested way, where you can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it, everything that you have been about before is all converging there in that moment. There's a huge celebration by all of us when you reach the culmination of something that you set into motion maybe years ago, maybe even before your birth into this physical body. And then you've added to it through life experiences till your goal got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you started allowing it until bang, big bang, bang. There it is for you to experience through all your physicality, but not apart from us. That thrill that you have is also our involvement with you on it, you see. Have we convinced you that you can't get it wrong yet? Have we convinced you you're not ever going to get it done and you can't get it wrong? So?
I think you've answered my question. Thank you. It's much more clear.
Be easy about it. Be more step 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Yeah. Did we tell you what step 5 is? Step 5 is where you're back in step 1 and you're not mad at yourself. Step 5 is where you're back into the resistance, but you don't take a dip in your energy. You just accept that contrast will always be there, and that the contrast is always shoring up your vortex and making eternity, which you are about, a certain thing. Certain, for sure. Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
Feeling a little overwhelmed. I want to talk about inner beings. And in the past, how you've described inner beings as somewhat separate yet connected. And I'm trying to understand.
Well, in the early days, we wanted you to know you had one. And we wanted you to know that your inner being often feels different than you do. But it's always been our desire to help you orchestrate a blending between you and your inner being, because really you can't be other than one, but you can pinch yourself off pretty good, which is what negative emotion is. The indication of you pinching yourself off from your expanded being.
Is my inner being a collection of all of my personalities? Is it a collection of everyone's personalities ever?
Your inner being is unique to you, and it's a stream of consciousness that you would, from your physical perspective, define as singular. But your inner being is surrounded by so many cooperative components that it would be impossible for you to discern where your inner being ends and another inner being starts, because law of attraction has done such a masterful job of bringing these inner beings together. So your inner being never stands in singularity, and neither do you.
I guess I'm also thinking about the constant connection of wanting to feel the connection of your inner being, because really isn't that sort of
well,
the
that's
goal?
why we used words such as, oh, I'm interested in this, or oh, that makes me happy, or oh, that is so soothing, or that tastes delicious. In other words, there are so many different ways that you can translate that connection into tangible experience. But alignment with your inner being is sublime, because that's where your confidence and your clarity is. We think that clarity may be the best word that most depicts your state of connection. Of course, love is, but you have messed up the word love a lot, because you say the word love when you're angry. And appreciation is even a better word than love, but even appreciation, the word gratitude is laced with what you're glad that you've overcome, where appreciation is more depicting of the ongoing increase in your allowing who you really are. And so the state of allowing will feel a lot of different ways to you. The state of receiving will feel a lot of different ways to you. But you know, you can tell that you have managed to accomplish a pretty steady state of receiving. And by a pretty steady state of receiving, we mean a minute or two or three or four. We're not talking about weeks, months, years. We're talking about just seconds turning into minutes or two or three. You can tell when you've accomplished that, which just means put the desire out there without putting the contradictory doubt out. It just means thinking about what you want and why you want it. So you can accomplish this state of alignment in a very short period of time. But you can really know that you're in that receiving mode when vibrations start exploding as thoughts in your mind. When those thoughts start coming, you know that you're in the receptive mode, and that you are turning the thoughts to things, that you're turning the vibrations to the thoughts and the thoughts to things. You're ready for this. You've been listening to us for a while. We know that you get law of attraction. We know that you understand that you are more than this physical body. We know that you can feel that broader part of you, even though you pinch yourself off from it all the time. All of you do. You pinch yourself off from it, but you still know that it exists. In fact, the negative emotion is proof that your inner being exists. Because if your inner being were not in that high-flying place, your departure from it, you wouldn't feel anything. If your inner being were hanging around where you were all the time, you'd never feel that variance. And so your negative emotion is evidence. The worse you feel, say, inner being, this is proof that you exist and that you are in a different place than I am. So as you acknowledge the existence of your inner being, and you acknowledge your profound appreciation of the law of attraction, and then you just even minimally care about the way you feel, you're in a place where you are a master of creation. Don't tell yourself a story that is different from that.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.